My apologies. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I hope you can hear me clearly. Okay, great. So yesterday we began a new topic, which is continuing on the types of things that we've been talking about, which is cleaning clothing on Shabbat, and for the most part that we're not allowed to do that. However, today we're going to move on to a different concept, which has to do with folding the clothing, and then maybe we'll go back into cleaning. We'll see how much time we have. So folding clothing. So first of all, you have to understand that when we talk about folding clothing, in our terms, folding clothing usually means just a gentle, put away. When we talk about folding clothing, that's normally the purpose of why we fold our clothing is in order for it to go in a drawer or on a shelf or something like that. We don't want it to lay out there, fully, stretched out, or however you want to say it. It doesn't fit. So we fold it in order to make fit a space and for storage purposes. In the time of the Gemara, that was not their concern. The folding that they did was part of taking care of the clothing, and therefore the folding they did was much more vigorous folding. It was kind of like an intense stretching, a pulling, and often folding was done by more than one person. So it served a couple of different purposes, including kind of like stretching it out, also kind of like ironing it. If you get a lot of folds in the thing, you pull it out and it sort of stretches it. So the concept of folding in the Gemara, it's a very different concept. It's thinking about a different idea that's much more about care for the than it is about creating proper storage or making it look good. So that's what you need to keep in mind before you start talking about anything that has to do with taking what is in the Gemara or the Halakha and translating it into our lives, where folding just has a different connotation. In our lives, folding is make it look nice, make it look like it looks on the shelf in the store, or neat, or to store it somewhere. So it's a very different thing. So keep that in mind as we read what we're about to read. It says, "En lekapel beged or mapa v'chadome bekipulo hakodem elem ken yikaimu bo kol chameshet hatnaim habaim." So you're not allowed to fold clothing or a tablecloth or a towel or something like that along the lines that it previously had. Meaning, we've all done this before: a talet, a towel, a bed sheet, your shirt. Very often you see the lines that were in it from previous folding. So the general rule is you can't fold it along the same lines, right? That's the general rule, unless you have 5 conditions that exist. So let's talk about what the 5 conditions are. 1, the folding is for the purpose of that day. So in other words, you're folding it, and you're not folding it so that it could be used on Thursday, right? So that is something that is of the type that we've seen before, because we have talked about the idea of not preparing from Shabbat onto another day. So it's true, we should not be what we generally call folding laundry, right? Meaning I shouldn't be in my laundry room, and and when I go to my laundry room downstairs, what's happening when I'm down there? I'm busy dealing with laundry, which is for Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It's not for Shabbat. So purpose number 1 to keep in mind is that you're not folding something that's going to be for a different day. So that's concern number 1. So you have to ask yourself, if I find, so I'll give you an example where this won't come into play, right? I make netilat yadayim on Shabbat lunch, and I take the wash towel that's there, and I go like this. Right now, I could just chuck it on the counter, as many of us like to do. But if you're like me, you like things to look neat. So you take it and you fold it and put it on the rack. That's no problem, because you use it. That has a purpose for that day. You may come and use it again in the afternoon, or it's sitting in your face in the kitchen, and you don't want the kitchen to look messy. So in that sense, that would not be a problem. But let's say, I went running yesterday, right? And, and now I didn't do the cleaning, or maybe I did the cleaning on Friday, and now the shirt is in the dryer, and the dryer is just sitting there. I can't open up the dryer, take out that shirt and fold it, because I'm not running today. I know I'm not running today. I'm not using that shirt today. And so I shouldn't be playing with it. I shouldn't have to do with it on Shabbat. So that's item number one, is in order to fold something, there has to be some basic purpose for that item on that Shabbat. So that's item number one. Okay, item number two, Shiyah beged chadash sha'adayin lo nitkabes. So we're going to talk about this as well, that the clothing has to be relatively new, that it was not yet washed. We're going to come back to that point. 3, sheyeh beged lavan v'lo tzivoni. You want it to be a white item, but not a colored item. Number 4, she'en lo beged acher hara'oi lovsho l'shtamesh bo Shabbat. You have no other article of clothing to wear on that Shabbat. 5, shakipul yaseh al yedei adam echad bilvad v'lo le'ezrat acher. And this is the one that I wanted to talk about, that it's a folding that you do individually, but not a folding that requires more than one person to do. As I mentioned before in the Gemara, the idea was that they would have these, like, almost like you beat out a carpet or something like that, where they would do extensive pulling in order for the benefit of the garment. So that you can't do, right? So the two things that are easy to understand are, number one, I need it for that day. I need it for that day. Number two is that I'm not doing this, what we'll call professional melacha style folding. Now, what's behind the folding of it being new and white, and that you don't have anything else? So if you don't have anything else, right? So the idea is, so just use the something else and put that and throw it in. So that kind of ties back into the first point of using it for Shabbat. But I'm going to say like this, very often what happens on Friday night, I'm wearing a pair of pants, right? I wear my blue suit to the Bet Knesset on Friday night, right? And now when I'm getting into bed, I take off my pants. Am I not allowed to fold them? Am I not allowed to hang them on something? I am allowed to do that because that's the clothing that I'm going to be wearing tomorrow morning. So that's fine, right? And I don't want that clothing to be ruffled and crumpled and so on. And I would even go as far to say is you could hang it on a hanger, or hang it over a chair, or even fold it up and even along the creases that are in there. Because none of that is the professional folding that we have, so that would be okay. Even though here he's saying some other purposes and other statements, we're going to say specifically that the main things to worry about are: am I doing the professional folding, and am I using that clothing on Shabbat, or some foreseeable use of it on Shabbat? So that's the basic gist of it. So the clothes that I'm wearing on Shabbat, I could fold.
Rabbi, can I interject a sec?
Please.
If you wear the blue suit at night, but you're going to change to a different suit in the morning, are you allowed to hang it up?
So you have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of my hanging it up? Meaning, is the purpose so that I can have the clothing ready for next Tuesday or next Shabbat even, when I'm going to wear it again? So for that, the answer would be no, you can't. However, what you might have, and it would depend on the situation that you have in your house, is you might have, well, where's it going? If I have, like, many of us have these, like, valet stations, where you can hang. So if you can just put it on there and just lean it on that or hang it on that, that's fine. And just leave it there till after Shabbat. But if not, if it's just going to be sitting out and it's going to be messy, which again, it really have to be, that's kind of be a relative call for you. If it's going to be a mess, so then no, then yes, you can fold it. But if not, then no, you should not, because if your sole purpose is basically to have it prepared for the next time when I'm going to wear it, when I know it's not going to be on Shabbat, then I should not do it. So, I think that.
So overall, we're saying that folding a shirt and hanging a shirt are, in terms of folding, the same thing.
Basically.
Okay.
It's basically the same problem. Folding it up. Folding has this other problem, which is it's something the rabbis talked about as not doing because they were concerned about this other aspect, which hanging doesn't really come into play. Although hanging does, because hanging, you have to worry about certain times hanging something, which we'll get to when it's washed and you're hanging something up like on a clothesline. So you're not allowed to do that either. But we'll get to that. That's not really what we're concerned about here because the item is not wet. So that's not really a concern. Yeah, good. Okay. Now, the big question that a lot of people ask and you see happen all the time, right? And that's what he talks about next. He says, by the way, he says, well, one other thing he adds is, if you don't fold it along the lines that it normally folded on, then it's no problem to fold it, right? So let's say, normally most things that we have folded have the creases or the basic places that you fold it. If you fold it in some other way, so it's not a problem. So, the pants, usually you fold along the crease lines. If you fold them not along the crease lines, you can hang them. You could fold them up. And so too a shirt or whatever else that we're talking about, a towel or something like that.
So Rabbi, like a sweatshirt never has the crease lines, I would imagine. Something like, so that you can always fold, right?
If it doesn't have the crease lines, then there's really not so much to worry about. You could fold it up, provided you have this. The one thing that you want to watch out for is that you're not preparing for weekday from Shabbat. That you have to watch out for. But in terms of the folding activity, they didn't want you to fold along the lines because of the purposes that we said.
But if a sweatshirt, you're not going to be using it for the rest of the. You wear it, you take it off, you fold it, you're good. Even if you're not going to wear it on, you're not going to use it again on Shabbat.
If you know you're not going to use it on Shabbat, then I would say the best thing to do is to fold it kind of in a what some of us might call a sloppy way. Meaning not, even a sweatshirt, which is thicker, so it doesn't have the creases the same.
Right.
You do see certain I don't know if folds is the right word, but you could kind of tell where where the fold lines are. So to fold it in a, what's the right word?
Not typical.
Not serious, not heavy, not put it away sort of way, then that would work. I wanted to get to the next piece, which is important, which is what about the talet, right? The talet is a big one because, first of all, we all see it. It all happens. It happens in shul. The talet usually has very clear fold lines on it. So what about the talet? You will often see certain people in synagogues who will not fold their talitot. You'll see a lot of people take the talet, and rather than fold it in the normal way that we fold it, along the lines, they basically just take it and put it in their hands and do like a, and then stuff it into a koracha or something like that. And then only after Shabbat do they actually fold it up. So where does that come from? And is that something that we have to do or not do? So he is going to quote here Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who says, "Mutar lekapel talit b'Shabbat shelo keseder kipulo harishon." He says you're allowed to fold your. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef says you're allowed to fold your talet, but not doing it along the lines, not the way that you found it. Afilu eno chozer l'lavsho bayom, even if you're not going to wear that talet that day. But Rabbi Ovadia Yosef also says that if you do fold along the lines, it's permissible, and there are plenty of opinions that allow it, and he himself says that you're allowed it. So he kind of straddles the line and takes both opinions. He prefers that you fold it not along the lines, but he says that you can fold it along the lines. So in our Bet Knesset, so if you're borrowing the shul's talet, So it's kind of easy because they, the staff who helps clean up will often fold for you. So if you want them to fold it for you, they'll fold it for you and it's no problem. If you want to fold it not along the lines, if it's your own talet and you want to fold it not along the lines, so there's what to say about that. But I can tell you, I myself actually fold it along the lines. I use it the same way, and I fold it along the lines. There are ample opinions that allow you to do it. And again, a lot of this has to do with going back to that original point of what's the purpose of the folding. And our purpose of the folding is for storage purposes, not for any other purposes. It's not melacha or anything like that, and therefore it's okay. Next, mutar lachzir et hasheka shel hamikbat shenitkatma, v'chen mutar lachzir et tzavaron shel me'il v'et hakefel shel mitnasayim. So he is talking about here items that fold that are part of the way you wear the clothing, right? So the collar came up, right? Can I fold it down? Yes. The hat, has a brim or something like that, and it folds up or down. You're allowed to do that as well. And any kind of folding that's, what you might call a for looks folding, that it folds in order to do that. You can roll up your sleeves or something along those lines. None of that is problematic because that's all the type of folding that you're allowed to do. Yud Gimel. Mutar lachnis et hakova shel Shabbat lekufsa miyuchedet lo. Right? It says you're allowed to take, if you have a special Shabbat hat, I like to wear, the brim hat on Shabbat. If you have a special Shabbat hat and you have a box in which you put it in, you're allowed to put that hat into the box, even if it's even if it's still Shabbat and you're not going to wear it till the next Shabbat, and so on. You don't have to worry about that. And here he's also talking about a fur hat, right? He says sometimes you're putting it in you're taking a fur hat. A lot of them wear those. What do they call them? The strimals. So a guy who wears a strimal, and I know that's none of us. What's the concern? The concern is, that by putting it in the hat, by putting it in the box, you're preserving it. He says, even though that's the case, it's not a problem. But he does say that, I didn't know that they did this. He says you shouldn't take the box and put it in the fridge or the freezer. Apparently, in order to keep these hats well, they need to be refrigerated. I didn't know that. He says, and in terms of doing that, that already would be a step that would be taking care of the clothing that's already too professional, too much of a melacha, that you'd not be allowed to do it. So if you have a fur hat and you're putting it in the fridge, don't do it. So I know that's not a problem for too many of us, but that's something that he's talking about. So tomorrow we're going to continue with the idea that definitely comes up as a practicality, which is hanging the clothing that is wet. So which will include, what about my raincoat or something that I wore that I wore outside and it was raining or something like that, or if a hand towel or a shower or something like that. So we're going to talk about all those items tomorrow. So we'll stop here today, and I wish everyone a great day.
Thank you, Rabbi.